The number one question I'm asked as a dietitian is, Maria, what do you actually eat? So today I'm revealing some of the foods that I eat every single week and in some cases every single day. And these are the low effort, high impact foods that I eat for gut health, hormone balance, energy and more. And I have a feeling some of these foods are going to help you too. Now, if we haven't met before, I'm Maria and I'm a registered dietitian. And I make videos that simplify nutrition so that it actually makes sense. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to hit subscribe and let's get straight into it. Now, number one on my list and a food that I eat almost every single day is cruciferous vegetables. So that is your broccoli, your broccolini, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts and your kale. Why? Well, cruciferous vegetables, these contain compounds like sulforaphane and indole-3 carbinol. And these support estrogen metabolism. And this can help with liver detoxification. And this is why they are so important when it comes to hormone balance. So if you're a woman and you're going through perimenopause, menopause, you have PCOS, or you just struggle with really bad PMS, this is one of those daily habits that I absolutely recommend. And if you have a sensitive tummy or you have IBS, the simplest thing to do here is to just cook them very well. This makes them a lot easier to digest and break down. So for the next one, I'm actually going to group two foods together that I do genuinely eat every single day. And while they have a huge long list of health benefits, the main reason that I love them is that they actually really help with bloating. And they help keep your bowels very regular, just like clockwork. And I honestly notice that if I'm traveling or if I'm out of routine and I'm not eating these foods, I really do feel the difference. So what are they? Oats and kiwis. So oats I will usually have in the morning, most often as something like an overnight oats. I'll make them the night before, they're quick, easy to grab. And oats are a great source of slow releasing carbohydrates that keeps you energized, but they're an excellent source of soluble fiber. Now, soluble fiber is soft. It's not like a bulky fiber that can upset some people. So it works by forming a gel in your gut that keeps everything moving. And this is why it helps with digestion, helps with bloating, and it helps going to the toilet. It is also excellent and one of my top foods when it comes to lowering your cholesterol, because the fiber in particular is called beta glucans. And these can grab onto cholesterol and literally help you poo it out in your stool. I recommend typically looking for your old-fashioned oats or your steel-cut oats, or if you're in Ireland, they tend to be called your porridge oats or your rolled oats. These are typically better than the instant oats. The instant oats are more processed, but they tend to often, if you're buying them in the packages, they tend to also have a lot of other things added in. And many people don't know this, but if you're having oats in the morning, you can have sweet, but you can also have savory options. I actually have a recipe that will be coming out in the next few weeks for savory oatmeal. It has Parmesan cheese on it, and it's honestly, it sounds weird, but it's so delicious. So make sure to follow me over on Instagram because I will have that out soon, and it's definitely worth trying. Sounds weird, but trust me on this, because I know some people prefer having savory breakfasts. Future Maria here. I just want to let you know that I'm giving away a free Ninja Creami to one lucky viewer as a thank you for helping me reach 30,000 YouTube subscribers. It's a big milestone for me. I'll leave all the details below, but to enter, you just need to comment on the video. Thank you for helping me get to this point. Now let's get back to the nutrition video. Now, with kiwis then, I always eat 2 kiwis every single day. If I don't have them as a snack or in my oats, I'll have them before bed. And I do eat the skin, the whole kiwi fruit, but I know this sounds weird because you can get those hairy ones and they're not nice. I don't recommend that. But if you buy the golden kiwis, scrub them well, get them when they're ripe and in season, and they're honestly so nice. I used to not want to eat kiwis because I definitely just had bad kiwis in the past, but trust me, kiwis are such an underrated, delicious fruit. I would literally eat them like apples. But the magic with the kiwi is that kiwis have an enzyme called actinidin, and this enzyme helps break down protein. And it also just helps support your digestion. So they're excellent for bloating and for just helping you feel that little bit lighter overall. And there's also really interesting research that shows if you have 2 kiwis before bed, they can even help with sleep. And this is why I'll often have them before bed if I want a snack, if I'm kind of too hungry, I don't want to go to sleep too hungry, but I also want something quite light. And my last fun fact about kiwis is they have more vitamin C than an orange. Let me know in the comments below if I have sold you on kiwis or if you're still an avid kiwi hater, because so many people are, I don't get it. Now the next food I eat every single day, and anybody who knows me will probably be able to this will be the first food that will come to mind, is Greek yogurt. I love Greek yogurt. I'll have it like a thick creamy topping on my oats in the morning. Or I will use it in sauces, in pasta dishes. It's so versatile. You can add it to smoothies. You can use it in baked goods. But it's such a good of high quality protein without loads of calories. And you're also getting calcium. Calcium is just excellent for our bones, and not everybody talks about getting enough protein, getting enough fiber, but nobody talks enough about getting enough calcium, which as women is so important because we're at a much higher risk of osteoporosis. So if you're not consuming dairy and you're having other forms of yogurt, just make sure they are fortified with calcium. Now, whether or not you want to go for full fat, low fat, it's up to you. What I would say is that the low fat stuff has a bit of a bad name because a lot of people will say when they take out the fat, they add in the sugars and the sweeteners and all of that. And there is a lot that do that. But I will say that nowadays, there is so many yogurts out there. We have so much choice, and there is now some excellent options. So they're not all bad if you do want to go for the low fat ones. I typically go for the 2% fat, and I love the brand Fage, I don't know if I'm saying that right. But that's kind of the sweet spot for me. And I normally buy it plain because then it's more versatile. I can add it into my savory dishes, but I can also sweeten it if I want. I can add in my own honey or my own maple syrup, and I can sweeten it to my own taste and preference level. So that's how I like to do it. But whether or not you want to go low fat or full fat is generally up to you. There is some research that the full fat variety might be good in terms of things like fertility. But again, it's a personal preference. I actually find that I had the full fat version recently and I almost found it too much. I think just because I'm used to the other one. But if you like the full fat version, I would go for it, especially if you only have small amounts here or there. If you're like me and you consume nearly like a tub of yogurt all on your own every single day, then the calorie difference is a little bit more significant. So it's all down to context really and your personal preferences. But there is so much choice out there now with yogurts. Even with plant-based yogurts, there wasn't great options for a while, but there is so much more now, which makes me so happy. So the next one I want to talk about isn't actually a food, it's supplements. And I do want to mention it because I do think it's important. Now, as a dietitian, I would of course love it if we could all get 100% of our nutrition from food. That is always going to be the goal, but the reality is that is often not possible. And for many people, a supplement regime that is tailored to their unique needs can be extremely beneficial. But the problem is that a lot of people are just taking huge amounts of supplements without any clear reason. They have no idea what they're taking and why they're taking it. And that can actually be quite dangerous. Supplements are not harmless just because you don't need a prescription to buy them. In fact, I really wish you did. That would be great. So if you are going to take a supplement, here's what I want you to know. You should know the gap that you are trying to fill that food can't cover. You should know the dose you need and why you're taking that dose and how long you maybe need to take that dose for. And ideally, it should also be based on blood work, symptoms, or maybe your life stage. But you should be having an informed conversation with somebody like your doctor, like a dietitian, just to get a little bit more of an understanding about what you're taking and why. Don't be just going off the supplement routines that somebody on TikTok has recommended. And to give you an example, for myself, for years, the only supplement I ever took was vitamin D, because that was the gap that I couldn't fill. I was able to get everything else from food because I don't cut out any food groups. More recently, I've also added in creatine because women don't have as much creatine as men, and it's something that is very difficult for us to get from food, and there's very good evidence around that. If you're interested, I have lots of videos on my channel about that. There's also really good growing evidence about collagen supplements, but again, you need to actually be taking them in a decent dose so that they will actually have a clinical effect. You're not just taking an overpriced supplement that is sprinkled into some powder and sold in pretty packaging. And there's also excellent research for supplements in some life stages, like fertility, or if you have an ovulation disorder or hormone imbalances like PCOS. What you eat and maybe what supplements you take can actually influence the future offspring of your children. But again, it's knowing what you're taking and why, because if you take too much, it could be harmful. Now, I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to bring more awareness to this. simply because there is a lot of dangerous stuff out there on the market. But yes, supplements can be amazing, but only when they're used safely and strategically. Now, next up, I always make sure to have some seafood every single week. It's one of those foods that just ticks so many nutritional boxes. One of my go-tos is salmon. I actually had some tinned salmon for lunch today, and I'll probably have salmon again later on in the week for dinner. But oily fish in particular, like your salmon, mackerel, your trout, these are an excellent source of your omega-3 fatty acids. This is a big part of the Mediterranean diet, but why they are good is they have anti-inflammatory benefits, they're good for your heart health, they're excellent for your skin. I always say it's like moisturizing your skin from within. But I don't just stick to my oily fish. I will also always have something like a bag of frozen prawns in the freezer. And typically once a week, I'll make some kind of a stir fry using these because they're quick, they're easy, and you can have them in the freezer. One of my favorites is this mango prawn curry that I should have on my Instagram and on my website. And it's really easy to throw together, especially if you haven't been kind of organized that week, because a lot of the ingredients you can get from a jar and from the freezer. So it's one of my kind of go-tos when I'm not feeling very organized. So I'll make sure that I have my portion of oily fish every week, but I will also make sure that every week, at least once a week, I have a portion of white fish. This is like your cod or your haddock. And this is because white fish in particular is an excellent source of iodine. And iodine is so important for our thyroid health. And your thyroid controls your hormones, your metabolism, and your energy. You will feel it if it's out of whack. But here is the thing. A lot of us struggle with getting iodine because iodine isn't in a whole load of things. Iodine is mainly found in fish, and the other thing that it's mainly found in is dairy. And I know a lot of women who don't consume dairy and they don't like fish. So they are straight away missing out on the two biggest sources of iodine. So if you're avoiding both, it could be something that you need to be mindful of. But having your seafood every single week is one of those foods that I will always go back to because there are just so many benefits to your skin, your hormones, metabolism, and every aspect of health. Now, next up, I'm not sure if this one is technically a food, but it's olive oil. Again, a massive part of the Mediterranean diet, which we know is one of the most researched and beneficial diets for long-term health. Again, it's anti-inflammatory, it's amazing for your heart, for your skin, and even for your fertility. Now, in my house, I typically have 2 olive oils on the go at all times. I'll have a really nice extra virgin olive oil. This is the good stuff. This is what I use when I really want to taste it. So I'll have it maybe over a salad or as a drizzle over something that I'm serving. It's even nice just with bread and a pinch of sea salt. And a quick tip here is to always buy your extra virgin olive oil in a dark bottle because light will break down the antioxidants. So the dark bottle will help protect it. And then don't store it like on the window where the sun is coming in. And then I will also have a light olive oil. So I have my extra virgin olive oil for my salads, and then I have my light olive oil. Now this can be confusing, but light does not mean that it's lower in calories. It is the same as your regular olive oil. It just means that it has a lighter taste and it also has a higher smoke point, which makes it better for cooking at higher temperatures. Or if you want to use it in a recipe where you don't really want to have a strong taste of olive oil, like sometimes if I'm baking muffins, for example. And light olive oil also tends to be a lot cheaper, so I don't feel as bad if I need to be a little bit more generous with it. So I kind of save my extra virgin for the good stuff. And when we're talking about smoke point, yes, the light olive oil is great, but I do just want to clarify that your extra virgin olive oil is still actually quite stable, especially if it's a good quality one because it will have a good antioxidant content. So yes, you can still cook with extra virgin olive oil. It's just not always the most cost-effective option, especially if you're using it for something like roasting or for deep frying. Now, the next food that I have been loving lately is edamame. I will buy these frozen and deshelled, and I will always have 1 or 2 bags ready to grab in the freezer. They are one of my ultimate convenience foods. And nutritionally, they are brilliant. They actually pack more fiber per serving than a shredded wheat cereal. And they are one of the few plant-based proteins that is a complete source of protein. This means that they contain all 9 of the essential amino acids. And that is pretty rare for plant foods. And they're also really versatile. You can saute them in a pan with some garlic and some olive oil. You can blend them into something like hummus, and you can toss them into pasta dishes or salads or stir fries. You can even mash them. This is lovely actually, mashing them with avocado and having them on toast if you are bored of having eggs in the morning. There you go, you have a high protein avocado toast breakfast without needing to use eggs. And I buy them shelled, so they have this lovely kind of crunchy texture. It really is one of my favorite foods lately, and I feel like it's a complete hack that not many people talk enough about. Now the last one, and I wouldn't be doing my job as a dietitian if I didn't mention it, but it's leafy green vegetables, because they are just so good for you. Now don't get me wrong, all vegetables are good for you. But when it comes to cell health, anti-inflammatory benefits, and even preventing cancer, the research is clear, and that is that your leafy greens are powerful. So one thing I always encourage my clients to do, and I remind myself to do every day as well, is to at least have one serving, one handful of a leafy green. I love to have a bag of frozen spinach in the freezer, and that way I can throw it last minute into stir fries. I can blend it into a smoothie and you won't really notice the taste. It will just be very green. And I love doing it this way because if you buy it fresh sometimes, and I do love to buy it fresh, but sometimes it can go off quickly and then you feel guilty because you're after spending all this money on it and then it's wilting in the fridge. So if you buy it frozen, it's very handy to think of it last minute to throw it into so many different things. So if there is one vegetable to really prioritize every single day, it is your leafy greens. Your body and your future self will thank you. And there we have it, the 9 foods that I eat every single day as a nutrition expert. I hope you found this video interesting, or at least picked up 1 or 2 new ideas. Let me know in the comments below what food you are going to add from this list into your daily routine. And if you'd like a part 2, let me know, because I have a lot more foods that I could add here. Also, don't forget to grab your free recipe ebook, which I will leave linked in the description box below. Something I give away to anybody who makes it all the way to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like. It really helps support my channel, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss another video. I upload new videos every single week. Thank you very much for watching. As always, stay happy and stay healthy, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.